What's up YouTube, it's your boy Barcode. I'm back with another video. This video is going to be the ultimate rune guide for all types of players. I'm going to talk about sets, I'm going to talk about the runes you do want to level, the runes you do want to enchant, and where to use these rune sets efficiently. If you like the content, you know what to do. Hit that sub button, hit the like button, hit that bell dingy thing so you know when I post a video. Let's get right to it. Runes are a grind. The only way to get runes currently is through the missions. So make sure to keep up on your missions so you get those mystical dusts. You can also buy mystical dusts in the Alliance shop, which is not a bad idea after your skill stone, but I personally buy enchantment scrolls after the skill stone. But if you want to try for more RNG luck, you can buy the dust in the Alliance shop. Ultimately, this is the type of rune that you want to look for. A legendary rune with 5 out of 5 enchantments. In the beginning of the game, you definitely need to not be as picky with these legendary runes, as long as they're subpar. But ultimately, the substats that you want are all percentages, and you want them to be kind of fitting towards the rune set. First and foremost, if you're a new player and you're not level count 9 yet, you definitely want to save all your mystical dusts as possible until you hit level 9. I do have a video on how to get to level 9 as quick as possible. I will put that at the end of this video. On your way to level 9, you definitely want to make enough runes so that you have a skill set for your team. Whether it's gray, green, or purple, it doesn't really matter. Obviously, purple hero runes are better for a little bit of stat boosts, but I would still save till you get to level 9. So when you hit level 9, you can craft the high runes that give you the chance for legendary runes. And once you do that, I honestly would just spend all of them on energy, fatal, and swift sets. These 3 rune sets will benefit you the most until you hit a level 11. You can get vampire and violent runes. If you're having trouble climbing the ladder, and you just can't get a legendary top fatal rune, at least find a good one with good substats, raise that up really high, use the enchantments, and hopefully you get some good luck. But as you can see, a level 9 hero fatal rune compared to like a level 3 legendary rune, the level 3 attack rune already exceeds the level 9 hero attack rune. But as you can see, this is the type of runes that you look for. Obviously, you want 5 out of 5 enchantments. But if you get a good legendary rune that has all percentages and they all correlate together, it's a good idea to enchant that rune and level it up. As you can see here, it was attack, crit rate, accuracy, and defense. All good things for a damage dealer, even the defense, and you go ham on that rune. This was another rune that had crit rate, attack, accuracy, and it had flat HP. But flat stats aren't that bad, but you still want as many percentages as possible. This is the type of rune that you don't want to enchant, but because it's a top attack legendary rune, you can still power it up, but just do not waste any enchantment scrolls on it. Alright, let's talk about rune sets. Let's start off with Swift. Swift can be used with many different monsters. It can be used on supports. It can be used on damage dealers. Swift is really good on a speed type of team that you want to get the initial boost of damage out before the enemy. Because if you get the advantage in health bars, you can then auto attack and start countering instead of being aggressive. If you have a full set of legendary Swift runes and you want it on a damage dealer and you don't have a top rune that is legendary and fatal, going Swift is actually a little bit more beneficial than going fatal. When you power up the top attack rune, you get a huge boost in attack, and if you have good substats in the other runes of attack percentage, it can pretty much balance out to what fatal would give you. And this not only benefits you, but it also gives an initial burst at the beginning because it's swift, lower 1 mana cost on that first skill to get that quick damage out. Like I said, the fatal attack boost gives 15%. So if you have a really good top rune that's not fatal, and you power that up, it could be way more beneficial. Fatal is obviously good on a lot of different monsters with high attack. The damage dealers can also be good on some limited supports like Gen, but overall, most of your damage dealers are going to be on Fatal. Energy runes are on your tanks or your HP based damage dealers. If you get really good substats in energy, like in this rune, 4 percentages, high crit rate, high crit damage, it can be truly beneficial to people like Kamoon who do damage based off his HP. Match that up with this rune of 15% and HP 8.8%. And then this third one of crit rate, Obviously, I'm not enchanting this one too much because it's not needed. I just want it there for that legendary HP base stat increase. But the stats on him are pretty good as energy with high HP, half 50% crit rate almost. So when he does crit and heal, he heals himself for more and his teammate. The other way to go about it for your tanks that don't do damage and just there for support and to be tanky front line, these are the kind of stats that you're looking for in an energy rune: resist percent, defense percent, HP percent, and accuracy percent. This is a perfect, almost perfect rune. Not perfect, but almost perfect. If this was enchantment 5 out of 5, this would be an amazing rune. Guard runes. The problem with guard runes is that it's on a crappy triple set to craft. In order to get guard runes, you need to craft it on will and blade. Will is good, guard is good. Blade can be good early game, but once you get into good substats, you need to throw those blade runes out the window. You can get good crit rate percentages in the substats. Will is an amazing rune, but to use all your mystical dust on the guard blade will, it's not really worth early game. This could be good later down the line when you get your full legendary sets of Fatal, Swift, Energy, and even Violent and Vampire. I really need to start getting some good guard runes so I can put that on some really tanky frontline supports. And guard is mostly best on people like Rune, who have high base defenses, and also Artemil, if you get the good substats of accuracy. And obviously Copper, who does a ton of damage if you have really good runes. But needless to say, the runes you craft really depends on the RNG that the game gives you in cards. If they give you a ton of coppers, you're going to want to craft some guard runes for him. If you don't have high level Artemil or high level Copper, there's really no point in farming guard runes yet. Will runes gives you immunity at the beginning of the game, which is an amazing feature. Once the immunity is broken, you have a 90-second cooldown for it to come back up. This can be really good on certain monsters. Even the front line, having all will against the Prelee meta, is super strong. But the problem with that is mystical dust are very hard to get currently, so you really need to base crafting on a whole aspect of your team. That's why I always say start with Energy, Fatal, and Swift. Rage can be really good on certain monsters, especially ones that you know are going to crit, with skill stones as a gimmick or using freezes as a gimmick. It's also really good for monsters who do damage based on the enemy's HP, like my boy Hooray. Hooray does damage based on the max HP of the enemy. If there's an armor break on the whole front line, and he does branding too and does his skill, and on rage, at level 10 he does 2500 damage with no attack buff. That's super beneficial, especially for how tanky he is. He could be in your second or third spot and do a ton of damage and be tanky. But if you're running like a Rune type of team, or a Poseidon Chill Tornado type of team, or even Finn or Seek that have high crit rates as skill stones, they could benefit from Rage if you have really good crit rate percentage substats. Again, the problem with Rage is that you're crafting it on the Focus and Endure sets. Just like Guard, Blade, and Will, these two sets of runes that craft, technically only 2 out of the 3 are good. With Energy, Fatal, and Swift, you're at least maximizing the potential of a good rune that you will actually use. I also feel like they should buff the amount of crit damage that the bonus for Rage gives. 25% isn't a big increase. I feel like it should be 40%, and a lot more people would actually use it in my opinion. Focus can be good in certain situations, one being World Tournament and Arena. Since substats aren't included in runes in those two places, if you rely on someone that needs to strip or steal buffs like an Artemil or Soha, in my opinion, Focus is actually better in those two situations. It gives you 30% extra accuracy for where defense guard runes would only give 15% defense, but you're probably not going to strip. In World Tournament and Arena, I know I've brought my Artemil in with focus runes and they brought their Artemil in with guard runes. And because I stripped their buffs, I'm actually doing more damage than what they would do. Soha probably could be better on Fatal as well, if the substats counted with high accuracy substats. But in World Tournament and Arena, substats don't count. So focus is actually better. So you maximize the opportunity of stripping or stealing buffs. Once I hit level 11 account, I will most likely be crafting some Vampire and Violent runes. Violent is good for pretty much any damage dealer. To be able to get that card back is just insane. Vampire is really good on a couple different monsters. These monsters should be tanky, and these monsters should have a lot of damage done as well. The first person that comes to mind with Vampire runes is Rune. If you put him in the back line, and you put Vampire runes on him against a Prelee Sophia meta, you spam that back line with Rune, you have immunity, you have attack buff, and you're doing tons of damage and you're healing yourself to full. They can't heal block you unless they strip your buffs and then heal block you. You would need to one-shot, probably with a Kali, but you better watch out because Rune can pretty much one-shot Kali if he crits twice. Another good example of Vampire runes on a tanky character, but actually more of a damage dealer, is Tagaros. I always say that with like a Spanish accent or something. Tagaros. He has high HP, high attack, and he can hit really hard. He will heal a ton because he hits hard, and he has high base HP, so he can survive a little bit as well. Just some monsters to think about when you get the Vampire runes. These are the current runes and rune sets I'm running on my team right now. This team did bring me up to 4,700. I'm on a win-loss roller coaster right now, so I think I'm only at like 4,550, but this team got me to that point. But you see where I'm getting at here. I don't want to go through every single monster. Most of the monsters you rune in specific ways. There's a lot of things to think about in rune building, but honestly, all that matters is your stats overall. And if you level the right runes and use your resources to enchant the right runes, it's going to benefit you over the long haul. I hope this guide helps. And if you like the content, you know what to do. Sub, like, dingy bell. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.